All right. Well, game one of the Dubas Derby is in the books, and it ended how you'd expect any game to end when the Leafs are facing a former employee or player of theirs in a wet fart. That was like the ending of that game. That's what it was. That's what it was. Harnish, welcome to Game Over Toronto. Welcome everybody else, Game Over Toronto. How did you? That was extremely anticlimactic for a pulled goalie for 3 minutes.
Listen, the Leafs, I don't know what's going on with them. There's a lot to talk about, but especially that first line, nothing is clicking with those guys. Like, holy crap. Nyes had an okay game, but Marner, Matthews, like, you guys got to get something going. Holy crap. And the fact that they waited for so long at the end of that third period to get anything going or show some kind of urgency. Are you kidding me? You were down 3-2 for the entire third period. What are you doing? At least play with some urgency. Play like you care. Play like it means something to you. How are you just going out there and put in zero effort whatsoever?
Yeah. Sorry, the can is Pittsburgh colors. I didn't realize that, but not really. It's not black. That's a little bit of black. But yeah, I know. I hear you. No, it's. And we saw the kind of full gamut of Leafs bingo happening in this game because it all like it's actually like a bit. I actually think like it's ingrained in them. You saw obviously Noel Achari scoring. Well, we'll get to it, but he's scoring an absolutely weird, but actually weird, like extremely impressive goal from that really sharp angle.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was a bingo. That was a bingo spot. Obviously, you had a goal, 20 seconds left in the second, which I knew was going to be the killer because it always is. And they gave up a goal. The first goal, we can get started with that. So the first goal, Tyler Bertuzzi gets on the board. 28 seconds later, maybe 29, but something in that range, not a minute later, Pittsburgh scores a goal. Now, I don't know if this is I don't know what it is. It's maybe I'm biased and blind by this team by focusing on it, but does this happen to other teams this much? Because ever since this era has started, it's just been almost a bit.
Oh god, especially this season, like there has to be a bet that I can make where anytime the Leafs go up or score a goal within like a minute, there has to be a bet like the other team is gonna score. Because it happens every single damn game. And it's crazy because like the whole conversation last season was you gotta start on time. You can't go down early and then try to make it up later, right? For the last couple of games, we've been scoring first. But there's no benefit to that. That doesn't matter if a minute later you're gonna get scored on, right?
You might as
And
well not, yeah.
yeah, and it's not even just like, oh, the Pittsburgh Penguins had an incredible play to cause that, right? It was a defensive breakdown, something that we've been hollering and complaining and screaming about since the beginning of the season. Like if you remember that whole play, it was a 3-on-2 rush that the Penguins got on, right? I understand that we're obviously at a disadvantage on that, right? But the Leafs just complete like breakdown that happens. I don't understand what they were thinking, giving Gensel like that much space. How when you have Brody and Marner back there, why does Brody not just go and try to cover up Gensel, especially when you see that Riley is coming in and can take on that third man? They both are essentially puck watching. Brody completely he doesn't know what's going on in that play. He doesn't know where he needs to be. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know where Gensel is, and Gensel's like a complete fucking ghost in front of the net, and he just scores an easy goal. Like, what are you doing up there, man? Come on. And then the second goal, we'll get into the second goal, but I put some blame on Brody on that as well. But we'll get to that when we get to it.
Last game I said Brody was just as good as Quinn Hughes because he scored that amazing assist, right? No, it's I mean it all of it can come down to like a lack of focus at like opportune times. It how is it when you're ahead, you just your brain just goes like it just goes into like like in The Simpsons when they show Homer's brain and like it just shows like an animal playing in like a violin, like it's gone. His brain is gone. It's like they go absent for a minute, and they do insane things that they would never do. Like they're like Brody's a very capable defenseman. Like he's a pretty good stay-at-home. He makes good defensive plays, but in that moment where you just scored a goal. It's almost like everyone just disassociates and just comes back to earth again. It's like, oh, when did that goal happen? I don't remember that. Like it's almost like collective amnesia.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I mean, like he had a bad game today. Like you said, yesterday he had that great assist. He looked great, right? But today, like, oh man, it was really rough seeing him out there. And that's another issue, right? The Leafs don't have any other defensemen, or the amount of minutes that they need to put on Brody and Riley and whatnot. It's just too much. If one person has a bad game, you kind of have to stick it out there because we don't have other defensemen that we can
No.
comfortably rely on, right? Brody is essential to this lineup, and if he has a bad game, we're gonna go down with the ship's gonna go down with him, right?
I mean, yeah. So I mean, you saw the stat, and it was kind of mind boggling. I saw it towards the end of the game that the Leafs are 23rd in goals against, and I'm not surprised just going by mathematics and watching these games and seeing the opponent scores. But I didn't realize it was that bad. I hadn't checked that in a while. And last season, they were like top 10, were they not, in goals against? Like they were pretty much top 10 in both categories.
Yeah, I mean the
This
Leafs
season,
were.
it's like, yeah, this season it's like that's a very concerning piece to me. It's like not a lot of teams are winning anything when you're bottom 7 in goals against. Like it doesn't matter how much talent you got up front. We're seeing it with other I don't want to bring up the Oilers, but you're seeing it there. Like they got no defense. They got the 2 best players on earth. It's like if you are not balanced, you're dead in this league, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
yeah, and some people are saying that, I that are the Leafs are not the same since Stockholm. I mean, that's kind of true. I mean, like there's only 2 games, but like those 2 games were pretty rough. I don't know.
I mean, like, but the thing is, these are issues that we've been talking about throughout
Oh,
the entire season, right?
yeah.
It's not just like a recency bias where, hey, like they've just been having lapses of judgment in their defensively, right? We've been talking about that since the beginning of the season. That top line has not looked good for a pretty good chunk of it, and especially Marner. I know the stats wise, there was a stat in the broadcast saying that he's roughly around the same points per game as last season. But he just does. It looks like he's checked out and he's really frustrated. They were showing some clips of how he reacts when he makes a bad play or whatnot, and just the frustration, the anger, and um it's just not a good look. He's got to play better. He's got to do more. He's making so much money, and he's so important on this lineup, especially to help out Matthews, and they're really getting nothing from him. And credit to Nyes. Nyes had a pretty mediocre game, I would say, like the last game. Today he's able to net a goal for us, right? He looked a
Got a big chance
lot
too.
better. Yeah, Nyes looked really good today, to be honest. He had one of his best games, I think. And it was all because he's essentially going back to basics, playing how he played in college, just being smart and default into what he's good at, right? Marner needs to pick something up and try to get something going, because if he's not going to work on this line, we gotta change some stuff around, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, the blender, the Sheldon Keefe Vitamix is coming out of the pantry right now. He's
Hmm.
plugging it in. Next game, Marner's going to be in net. Like that's how Sheldon
Oh
Keefe
God.
operates. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just being facetious. Guys, listen, I'm just gonna call right now. Thanks for joining us. My name is Fouad Suleiman. This is Harnish Patel. We're here talking about the Leafs losing. And it's a big crowd when the Leafs lose. We love you guys. Thanks for coming out. That's one of the perks of the Leafs. Sometimes losing. Everybody comes for the Schadenfreude. We love you just as much. Don't you worry. Thank you for joining us. Hit like if you like it. Hit subscribe to us, and yeah, keep it moving. So, and also we're gonna have a press conference later, so we're gonna be taking your questions. So, leave some questions. We're gonna scroll through them, and we're gonna find them towards the end. And yeah, questions, comments, concerns. Tell us about your day. We'll read it. We'll read it out at the press conference. So
Yeah, there's a lot of comments about Marner and some trade
yeah,
prospects or whatnot.
they don't
Bring them
say.
up later on in the press conference, because yeah, I have some thoughts on that. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
continue.
Marner's always a guy that's always on thin ice. Like, I mean, pun intended on hockey, but he's on thin ice always with his fan base. it's always like, ever since 2019, like people don't forget that. I mean, 2019 was decades ago, like if you're literally like in my mind, but with that free agency, people don't forget. Like, and then the season subsequently, like on this collective fan base is kind of like there's, he's had some really high highs. Like last season, he was unimpeachable. He had that 17 game point streak, and he was on top of the world.
Yeah.
But that contract and that kind of thing is always going to stick in Leaf fans' minds. And like you said, he's playing at a good pace, like points wise, but it's not showing timely. Like it's not showing up in those big moments where it's needed.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it was last season. Like he's not having those moments, and that's not like, and it's not really translating honestly in like to wins. Like last season, I think by this time they had turned the season around and were firmly in the second Atlantic. Coy says the Atlantic is too competitive to be giving games away. I agree. Like the Leafs, we said this last game, and it hasn't changed now. 5 regulation wins. 5 out of 19. That's a stat. Like that is something that is not talked about a lot. That is something. Mm-hmm. Because like that is a stat. You don't get loser points in the playoffs. Like in my opinion, there should not be loser points. Keith calls the herd a little bit, but there are. And that's a concern, and that makes me think like have real doubts about this team going forward. Like not even playoffs. Forget the playoffs. I mean like towards the middle of the season, like there's something, like there is a concern, like there is some water leaking into this boat right now.
Yeah, well the problem is it seems like again another issue from last season, right? They just play down to their competition, right? We saw against what was the team yesterday? The Blackhawks. We saw against the Blackhawks yesterday. This is like a really, really bad team that's missing Corey Perry. They're also missing Taylor Hall as well. They're missing 2 of their best guys. And you show that effort, you put that, you should be completely running away with that game. Tonight as well, I know the Penguins are a better team. They are a good team, but they are struggling, especially in their special teams, right? We had quite a few penalties that we could have we could have taken advantage of, right? But no, like they just don't get anything going, and especially that first special team for their power play just looked horrible. The second power play unit, at least they were getting some puck movement, they were getting some shots out there, and getting something going, right? I just don't understand what to do with this team, because they just clearly either play down to their competition or just outright wait until the last absolute minute that they can to try to make a comeback. And more often times than not, they can't get it done. You saw it last game, you saw it today as well.
You were in school more recently than I have been, and I don't know. Does the exam go well when you don't study until 9 a.m. and then the exam at 3 p.m.? I don't know. Does
horribly.
It work out? Some people it does. Like, listen. Some people it does. Some people actually do better that way.
Oh yeah.
The Leafs don't. That's not the Leafs case. And some people do better with that immense pressure. But no, and like look, like you said, Pittsburgh. You always have to have that reverence and respect for Pittsburgh because they got the 2 legends. They got the legendary core. The core that's been together, actually, those 3 have been together longer than anybody in sports. Honestly, since the Yankees of the 90s. Like it's the longest stretch that 3 guys have been together. But no, they're not great. Like they're not a great team. The Pittsburgh Penguins, like they're not.
They're aging. That's the biggest issue, right?
They're a ceremonial team. Like they're a team that's like it's on its farewell tour.
Yeah, this seems like this is their last year essentially to try to make something work. Like you were saying, it's like their last Stanley Cup was what, 2017, I think, right?
Yeah, 2017.
Crazy.
A long time ago. Like, and yeah, so was 1967. I know the joke's about to come. I get it. But like, the team is what a team is right now. Like the Leafs did play down to their competition. Like they have more talent than the Penguins do, by far. Like just more talent, 100%. More young talent, more consistent talent, like more guys that are in this era. But again, like you said, like it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, everybody, I know, like everyone's talking about the core, and right now, I mean, if you look at the chat, like everyone's trading everyone right now, and I love it. I'm here for it. Like,
well,
I like reading it.
What do you think we do with that top line though? Because like we got to get them going. It really seems like if the top guys don't score, and I know the secondary teams or the bottom six has been doing well. They've been getting some goals in the last couple of games.
Yeah,
But we need to get the top six going. Tonight is like even that second line, which looked pretty good last game, or looked very good last game. They did not look. They looked all right. They weren't the best. But that top line, especially, we have to make some moves. What do you think that there's anything we need to move around, or how would you kind of take that?
switcheroo, simple switcheroo. I mean, the thing that they've
But who
done.
would you switch though? Right,
Oh,
that's the question.
Marner and Nylander. You move them around. You put Marner
Uh
back
huh.
with Tavares. I mean, I always like that one better. I always like that combo better. Like I always, maybe I'm just biased by my mind. I'm sure the numbers may be different, but I always found that Matthews and Marner actually played better apart. Like I feel like they could shine better apart and they could spread the talent out apart. And we've seen what Matthews can do with Nylander. I mean, Nylander's on a great level right now. Matthews has been on a pretty high level, but is now kind of regressing to the mean. I mean, Matthews is a streaky scorer
Hmm.
in a sense. Like, I mean, this when he's on a hot streak, it's like nuclear hot. But right now he's kind of tapering off a tiny bit. So I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're just going to see that switcheroo there. I mean, you never see like Marner with Nylander. I don't remember I've ever seen that on a regular line. I, I'd like to see it just for fun. I mean, I feel like it's. I always wonder like, do they? I don't know if they do. They, I wonder if they even friends. Do they even know each other? Like, are they even buddies? I don't even know. I'm just kidding with that. But
I mean,
like,
I'm sure
you
they've
don't
had
see.
some time to get, especially because like when they were trying to get Nylander to work on that second line, maybe he
Yeah,
might have played some minutes together. But yeah, very, very, very little. But I heard some comments or some people tweeting out or talking about maybe like if you don't want to touch Bird and don't want to touch that second line, what about throwing Robertson up there in the top line? Because that's
yeah.
another
I mean,
guy who's been playing pretty well. He had a great game the last game, and maybe it's he has something else to step up, and maybe he can get something going with that top line.
you know what? I always say it. I'm a Nick Robertson truther. Like I kept all the Robertson stock. Like I didn't sell no Robertson stock. I like his game. It's like to me, he is going to be at some point. I think a 30 goal scorer in this league. I actually think he has that talent, that kind of finishing ability. But do you screw up with that third thing? That's the thing with hockey. It's like when a line is bad and it's a very important line. It's like building pieces in a puzzle. Like, well, you take from the bottom here, but will the bottom be shaky? So the top is good, but then the bottom's shaky. Like that's the thing, man. It's such a balancing act, especially with a streaky team like the Leafs, where you don't know what you're gonna get night in and night out. Like this has been the story forever. Like inconsistency is the Leafs' consistency. You know what I'm saying? Like that is kind of what we get. I'm down to try anything. I like experimentation. Like this is the time to experiment. Well, maybe it's not the time to experiment because they're actually like last I checked, they're second wild card, the Leafs,
Well,
right
I
now.
mean, if they're still gonna play with this stuff, or if the top line's gonna play with the way that they have so far, I mean, I think it is time to change something because clearly something's not working. And to your point, like this isn't a sure thing that the Leafs are gonna make the playoffs, right? It's a tough
Oh,
damn division, and the more games you drop to teams you should be beating, like the worse it's gonna get for you.
oh yeah.
So I think they got to make some changes, right? I like the Bertuzzi moving up. I think that makes sense. Nylander moving up into that first line, that makes sense. I hope to see some kind of changes though. Like if we see no changes, I am gonna be so disappointed. But yeah, that top line just has to be better. It's just
Yeah.
ridiculous the way that they've played
That's
the last two games.
yeah. I mean, it's simple to say. Like it's the most simplistic thing to say, but it's the most simplistic solution. It's like your best guy's got to be better. Like,
Hmm.
and another thing I saw today, that was like, there's a lot of things that I just went, that's so Leafs. I cannot believe. I cannot believe, but I also can very much believe. Another bad unforced penalty. Yeah, TJ Brody throwing the puck over the glass.
Hmm.
Again, is it the same as too many men? Sort of, but not really. I mean, it's a little better than too many men because at least it's in the play, but still, those are penalties that are going to get called every time. They're objective penalties. All
Hmm.
right. In hockey, if you can take too many penalties in any other thing, take too many cross checks, take too many trips, because in the playoffs you can hit a guy with brass knuckles and they will not call it. Like you can use foreign objects. The refs do not care. But that kind of stuff, objective penalties, they must call. So you're gonna, if that's your habit, and it's been their habit. I mean, we saw that in the like 3 years ago with the Montreal series with Mitch Marner throwing it over the glass a couple times. That's the thing. Those unforced errors. Like I know it may sound like nitpicking, but it's all part of the big picture with this team. Like,
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think you're like you're completely right with that. Like this is a completely unforced error. There was no reason for Brody to be throwing the puck over the glass in that situation. There's absolutely no reason. They were already on a penalty kill in that situation. The Pens were on a power play, and now you throw it over the glass. The Pens have a 5-on-2 for 21 seconds. Luckily, they didn't score, and I mean the Pens, their power play unit is a whole other question. I don't know how they're just looking really really bad. But against a good team, like that's a situation where you could screw yourself over. You could shoot yourself in the foot. It's a 2-2 game at that point, and you take a stupid penalty. You go on a 5-on-3. What are you doing there, right? And again, it's Brody again making a stupid mistake. I hate to harp on it, but come on, man.
Like you're allowed to ice the puck. Like you don't have to hit it off the glass to get it into the center ice. Like that's kind of the point. You hit it off the glass to get it in the middle of the ice. Like you ain't got to do that. Just put it up in the air in the center. Like I don't know. I make it sound easier than it is, but you can't be doing that nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like right now, yeah. I'm trying to go through here because I think like yeah we can go through the game. I mean like I'm trying to find some like, but I'm kind of finding the balance of the show because we're going through. Want to go through the game, but there's a little lot of angst in here like with the fans, and I feel like people are like kind of starting to feel it now. They're starting to feel a little bit of the pinch about that. So we'll get to that there. But what did you think? I mean, I saw like some, like a pretty, like a part of the game, the reckless play. William Nylander, luckily he seemed okay, but man, that's a Hornet hit, man. That was like to get away from ragging on the Leafs and defending the Leafs here. That was, I hate seeing that stuff. Just near the boards, just if you're like a foot away from the boards, you cannot be hitting a guy like that.
Oh yeah, that was a very very dirty hit. You see,
stuff,
you see Lagesson. He's in a very difficult, vulnerable position. He's skating essentially out, and not looking at the play at all. And you, like, Zahorna has every opportunity to just skate by and just keep playing.
Yeah.
Like there was no reason for him to shove Lagesson in that moment. Like they're already up 3-2. Why are you trying to put your team down and get on a power play or a penalty kill? It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, luckily Lagesson was okay. The guy was slow to get up. But think about it, like if we were down another defenseman, oh dude, come on. How bad would that be,
at
eh?
that point? But I mean, it's not even that. It's just like I don't know, man. Like I get it, like heat of the moment, but like you just gotta like think of these guys. These guys are still your cohorts. Like, you know, I know you're playing against them, but like you can't be doing reckless shit like that and then be like, because that could end somebody's, like that could be the wrong way. Lagesson's out for the year, and he's not a guy that's
look at Liljegren.
Like
Liljegren also got taken hard on the boards. Like anything can happen. You could get injured very, very, like very bad. And yeah, it's just
about it because, like, you know, our guy, like my guy, like Andrew I saw that Andrew Cogliano, man, like that Iron Man streak, and then goes into the boards and is essentially done. I mean, that guy's a hometown hero, like, you know, this from around the way where I was growing up. So like, I was like, damn, I hated seeing that happen to him. But yeah, anything near the boards, I'm like, guys, smarten up there, because you know, I don't want to see these guys get hurt. You know, just like as a human thing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like that's another thing with the game. But I think this is one of those games where people are kind of getting the temperature of the team. Like it's not a game in a vacuum. You feel that right now? Like I feel like people are kind of like, it's like, okay, this is a bit of like a temperature check on the franchise, state of the franchise right now. And like, yeah, people are not really happy. But I will say though, I think right now I would actually. So the Leafs always, like, we've always seen them have flaws, but they've always, like in those years, most of the years they've had those flaws and we've seen them. They've been kind of locked into the playoffs by January in the spot, it's in the matchup, right? Now they're not, and I'm actually curious to see, and we're curious in your thoughts. Part of me thinks this is good for them. because at least we get to see right now, okay, you got fat and happy in the regular season. Like by January, you're like, well, I guess they're playing Tampa. Like it just by the way of the stupid divisions. But now the stupid divisions are there's a lot of bunching up. There's a lot of crowding. Like there's only a couple teams that are dead, done and dusted. But you got a lot of wiggle room there. And the Leafs are not guaranteed a spot. So I think that's actually going to be a benefit to them. Or at least you get to know sink or swim. Because maybe at least they get some battle scars in the regular season, get real playoff type matchups in the regular season. Then so it's that once they get the playoffs, it's not like, now it's do or die. Like now it's do or die now.
Yeah.
So I think that might be a good thing. I'm actually kind of excited about this.
You know what?
But what say you?
I actually didn't think about it that way, but now that you said it, that makes a lot of sense. I actually really, really agree with you in this situation. Yeah, throw some fire under their ass, make them play with some kind of passion. Because if you fall out of the wild card spot and you're still not playing with the passion or playing with the urgency that you need to be, especially against like teams that you should be putting away.
We know who you are.
Exactly.
Now.
Like
you ain't lying to us if you're doing that.
Yeah. So I fully agree with you. I think they should look at this. They should be angry. They should be pissed off, and they should be looking themselves in the mirror and saying, "Hey, we're a better team than this. We're a better team than what we're showing on the ice, and we gotta play with some kind of passion. We gotta play with some kind of respect for ourselves here." And another thing is like Treliving, especially this puts a lot of pressure on Treliving. Like we talked about the LTIR situation. Klingberg, you get that $4 million back if he does choose to do the surgery, which will be season ending. You get that $4 million back. Make something happen. This is your chance, because if you have a bad showing here, a bad taste in your or bad taste in the Leafs mouth, Leafs fans mouth, sorry, for you, Treliving, that's not going to be good. That's not going to be good. There's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of vitriol amongst fans, and you're going to have to answer for everything.
Yeah, and it's funny that we're talking about that with this being the Dubas Derby, right? You see Kyle Dubas, and they showed flashes of Kyle Dubas in the press box, and I'm like, it was very weird to me. I'm like, oh, wait a second, because they always did when they played Leaf games. Kyle Dubas gave some amazing memes, like just he'd turn around and just throw his water bottle, like amazing. I love it. One thing about that guy gave a shit about what he put out on the ice. But it's funny that you talk about that, because that's the replacement. That was Shanny's guy.
Mm-hmm.
Shanny's like, oh, you expressing some doubts? You out of the family now. I'm bringing in some old school hockey man, Brad Treliving now, and we're gonna see. No more of this analytic stuff. We're gonna bring an old man Treliving. He's not that old, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Now you're right. It's time to see. I don't think he's under any kind of pressure, because he's just been brought in, and again, the way it's structured. It's structured, unless like the board, like the big ownership, looks down at Shanny and says, "What are your boys doing? If they don't make the playoffs, y'all are in trouble." But I think that there's gonna be some pressure. I actually think that, because
I think there's a lot of pressure on him, because he's kind of like had a couple misses now. Luckily Bertuzzi and Domi are kind of working out for him as of late. As of late they're working out. But yeah, Klingberg was a huge swing and a miss. And if this is the first season that Dubas leaves and Treliving takes the reins, and if the Leafs don't make the playoffs, boy,
that's rough. That's a rough look.
And also Treliving was a Shanny hire, right? So for example, if they get rid of Shanny, let's say the new president comes in, they want to bring their own guy in. Who knows, right? You gotta play up to it, and you gotta show something.
Way down the road. But I will say, like, that scenario is insane to think of, because, like, you had Brendan Shanahan come out and say, like, you know what? He publicly explained hour by hour how he fired this dude.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna come out and say the next year, after winning the first round for the first time, they're gonna come out and not make the playoffs. Ooh. I think you're right. I think, you know what, you bring up a good point there. I actually think that there's a bit more pressure from up top than you think. I actually would not be surprised to see some kind of win now move coming either with the Calgary guys or something else. I truthfully think that the phones are active. Like I
Oh
think
yeah.
that the phone
Especially
lines are
because
occupied.
especially because he's got Willie still left to sign, and this guy is just bringing the number up more and more and more each day, each second that he's on the ice. Um, and yeah, he has a formula. He has to figure out what's going on defense. There's a lot of questions out there. So we'll see what he can do. One thing I do want to bring up about the game that I forgot to mention earlier. Did you notice how bad the Leafs were in front of their own net? Like
Yeah.
they were not they were given the Pens all the space in the world in front of their own net. There was no pushing them out of the crease. There was no getting them out of our zone. They completely just like essentially let the Pens dictate the whole situation in front. And then not only that, they also have some bad mix-up bad like switches where they leave guys open completely. Especially today, like I thought it was just like egregious. That's the first thing I noticed from the first period until the end of the game. They just gave them way too much room in front of the net.
Yeah. That's I mean that's not a this game story though. That's an all the time story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that's the thing. And it's just logically to me, that's the most vulnerable spot on the ice. Like that should be the like you're talking the castle. That should be the heart of the castle. You should have a moat around that thing because that's where the bad things are gonna happen for you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know that's that's a goal right there. So like I don't know. I never understood why that they had such a weak net front presence. Like you got to push guys out of there. You got to beat guys out of there because that's where they get beat all
You
the
guys
time in
got
the
big
playoffs.
bodies too. It's not like our defensemen are small by any means.
Not
Legas is
anymore.
a big boy. He can push his weight around, get some guys out of the way. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. So hey, you know we got a lot of questions. There's a lot of stuff going on in the chat here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of you guys. Thanks for joining us again. My name is Fouad. This is Harnish. Like us, subscribe, say hi, everything like that. We have a lot of questions. We have a lot of comments. Ooh, a lot of comments. We love it. You know, let's get to them. Let's get to some of them here. Harnish, you have any questions you saw there that you were itching to get at?
There's a lot of Marner
Yeah, yeah.
vitriol going on. Everyone's going scorched earth on Marner. I'm looking through some. Yeah, a lot of people talking about Tree Living having more misses than hits with Klingberg and Reeves.
Oh, that I agree.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I mean, he's got time. I mean, but that was a really bad couple of months. I mean, that is $8 million just flushed down the toilet. Like that's
Mhm.
it. Like you need every bit of those $8 million, and he just Cam Reeves, Klingberg, man. Like you got four guys. You got the best players to sign. We had this one here. Add Hannafin and Tanev from Lee. Add Hannafin and Tanev no matter what it costs. Then our top four is real. Now I don't know Hannafin. Is Hannafin like? I mean, I know he's been in rumors, but like he hasn't kind of been in that like one rumor where it was like Zadorov. Let's get all three of them. Just
Oh God, what are you gonna give up for that?
6 guys here, 6 guys there. Just go completely just.
How are you gonna manage the
trade
cap
up.
for that?
No, I'm just kidding. But hey, look, I hear you. I think that's definitely what's gonna happen. It's gonna be some kind of move like that, unless Calgary has completely just blocked his number, which is not uncommon in the NHL. We've heard that NHL GMs like talk to 3 GMs each. Like that's with these people are not like they're very driven by their own egos, right? So I wonder if Calgary's ownership would be willing to deal, but that's the obvious move, isn't it? Like 2 of those Calgary defensemen, give
I
them a
mean,
pick,
yeah.
whatever.
If you can get two, that'd be great. Even if you can get one of them. Like I keep harping up about this. I keep talking about this, but Tanev would look so good in Toronto. And this is something that in the chat, Classic asked if you could only get one Calgary D, who would it be? Yeah, Tanev. I think Tanev works so well because he's that right-handed D that we really need. Um, So yeah, I I really hope that we can get one of them going. And what you said about if Calgary will pick up the phone, if you make a good enough deal, if you show them what they want to see, you can make it happen, right? Uh, each team is each GM or is looking out for their own team, right?
Yeah. And Toronto and Calgary, like, it's funny, like historically have had like just the biggest trades ever, like just stupidly huge trades. Like the Gilmore, if you ever look at the Gilmore, go look at the Doug Gilmore trade. That was before either of us were born. But like it is like five like a 10 player trade. Like it is insanity. And then you had the one where we just woke up and Dion Phaneuf was a Leaf. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that's weird.
I was
I
just
was
gonna
like
bring
at the
that
I
up.
remember I was like 15. I'm at the gym. I was like literally 15. And I look and I thought my eyes broke. I'm like, this is Dion Phaneuf. It was like 8 guys going back. I'd love to see it. I mean, I think they gotta get creative. Like you gotta be creative right now because you have the best players you ever had in franchise history. You and they shoulder the blame, no doubt
Mhm.
about it. But you can't let this era go to waste. You cannot.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you cannot, because the playoffs are not. I know we hate on them losing the first round. The playoffs are not. Don't take the playoffs for granted, man. Like look at the New Jersey Devils. Like I checked on the New Jersey Devils are down bad. You know, like they were the like I thought they were gonna tear the league apart, and they're down bad. Like this is a league where the playoffs are. It's like that should be seen as a really good thing. Like it
Yeah.
should be seen as something that's like, wow, think we got our chance.
And
And
things can go either way as well. Like you look at the Oilers, they were actual favorites to win the whole thing, not
everyone's
even just
favorite.
like a contender. They were favorites to win the whole thing, and look where they're at right now. We got someone in the chat, Green Olive. They're saying not a Leafs fan, but is Keefe an issue? And this is also echoed by Josh Sanders saying Keefe is a liability. What do you think? I have some thoughts on it, but let's get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not nothing against Keith. I think he's a good players coach as far as like I think guys respect him. I mean, he seems like a guy that's a good motivator. Seems like a decently respected guy amongst the players. But I think he's been there, and I've said this a lot. He's been there for too much crap. Like he's just seen too much stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like he's been there since 2019. Like that's not a short period of time, especially with the Leafs. Like that is four historic losses since then. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I said, he's been there for the David Ayers game. He's been there for the Columbus loss. Been there for the Montreal loss. Been there for the Tampa loss. But like he's been there for a lot of stuff, and he's been there for all the bad habits. Like these habits have not been squeezed out of him yet, and that may not be fully his fault. You know, you can only lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink it, as somebody's grandfather would say. But at some point, there's a point where like a voice kind of loses its power, or a voice like guys kind of tune out the message. They don't believe in the message anymore. If things go south, I will say like I if things really like where they are out of the wild card and they're like, oh, whoa, crap, we're in a real bad position. Like I would not be shocked. You got Guy Boucher right there, like experienced hockey guy to just move over. That's your spot now. Thank you for coming, Sheldon. But I don't know if we're at that point yet. But I'm just saying I'm not totally against it if things go south.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Um, the same points that you echoed. Keith has been here for so long. He's essentially a senior, a veteran guy on this team. He's been here long enough. He came up through the ranks in with the Maple Leafs as well. I mean, he was on the Marlies coach for a while too. Um, and yeah, like he had one series win last season, and to be honest, if we look back at it, that series they got completely outplayed. They easily could have lost that, right?
Oh yeah, it
Um,
was Tampa
and
game.
a lot of the issue was that he was getting outcoached, right? I think that's a big issue. He got outcoached in Tampa. He got outcoached, like essentially both years in a row, right? And right now you guys have like four of the best players in the entire NHL, right? Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander. I understand that they can be streaky, but you got to get these guys going, right? And it's unfortunate because like what more power can Keith what more can Keith say or do than essentially bag skate these guys and tell them like, hey, play with a little bit of passion. He can't go lace up and go on the ice for them, right? And that's really unfortunate. But if these guys truly want to see Keith be their coach, if Keith is their guy, then you got to show up, right? Because if you don't show up, you're gonna drive this guy out of the out of the team. You're gonna you're gonna get him fired if you keep this up, right?
I mean, he
And
might be bulletproof.
yeah, and to your point, like the wild card spot, especially if they fall out, and let's say in January, they're out. That's like alarm bells are ringing. Like you got to
Yeah.
figure something out.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, the team has to stand up. They got to do better. They clearly have the personnel to do it. They clearly have the players. But if Keefe isn't able to get the most out of these guys, and if the guys don't wanna show some kind of heart for their coach, like he's gonna get kicked out, whether we like it or
Yeah.
not at this point.
Or not. I mean, he might be bulletproof. That's all I'm saying. Is like, and I hear you. Like, and this is not a knock. I hate saying that. Oh, fire him, fire. Like, sucks. It's not a knock. I actually think like if they let him go, he's gonna be a coach if he wants to be that offseason. Like this offseason. Like if they were to can him mid-season, which whatever may or may not. I'm not speculating, but he'd be a coach in the offseason. Like there's no doubt about it. It's just again, like I said, you can only have a guy for so long, and if you want to see changes in the way the team plays, you got to change something. Like nothing changes unless nothing changes. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like at some point the habits are always there, the things are always there, and I know that's the players too. And it's a lot harder to move the players, especially with no trade clauses, than to move a coach, right? But that's where we are. That's sports.
Yeah, and it's not to say he's a bad coach. It's not to say that he can't do well or whatnot, right? I mean, look at the Raptors, right? The Raptors, they got rid of Dwayne Casey as he won like Coach of the Year, right? And it worked out. I mean, you got Kawhi, that helps out as well.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need some kind of changes. Sometimes you just you need another voice in the locker room. And yeah, who knows? It might be Keith if they don't turn this ship around.
Yeah. Some of these, someone's at least said, force all the players to train with Gary Roberts. Yeah. Have you seen Gary Roberts is the most jacked 58-year-old man. I don't know how old he is, but he's up there. That guy is yoked, man. He was playing the Hall of Fame game, and they interviewed him, and he looked exactly how he looked when I watched him as a kid, and he was old then.
Mhm.
But the guy is like Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. That guy is huge. And he does train a lot of players. He's actually like one of the best individual trainers. But yeah, that's a funny one. I like that. But yeah, I mean, let's hope. I mean, it's still early. It's still early. We always say that, but like, let's see what they do. I mean, next game, if I'm not mistaken, is against those Florida Panthers, right? The team that bullied them into a fine powder last playoffs. And they lost to earlier this year. They lost to in like a kind of a disappointing fashion. Like, what do you want to see? Because if Sheldon Keefe is a coach worth his salt, he better have those guys like Rocky ready to absolutely beat that team 7-0, fight anybody. That's what I want to see. They better send a message against the Florida Panthers the next game, or else it's like you just like, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like there's any urgency. Like that's actually a big game. I think that's a big barometer for me to see really where these guys are at. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. And I believe that game is we're playing at home, right? It's a Tuesday game. I believe it's at home.
I have lost track of home and away ever since I stopped working there.
I think it's a home game, so you're gonna have advantage for line changes. Like Keith's gonna be able to play what he wants, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Like they're gonna have to play with some kind of urgency, and they're gonna have to put in the effort throughout the entire game. That's what I really want to see. I don't want to see you like get an early goal or whatnot and then try to coast until the final 10 minutes of the third period. Like, show that you care, put in some effort throughout the entire game. Give us one game to show where you actually are playing up to your potential the entire game. And another thing, swap up that first line. I don't care what you do. That first line has to be changed, and I want to see some kind of production out of that first line. Those are my two big things.
Yeah. Honestly, I was gonna end it off on that. We got some more banger questions. You guys came in late with this. All right. So MKI Sports says the question is right now, how early is early? It's not early anymore. It's not early. That's what I'm gonna say. That I'm saying not early. This is time. It's time now. Like it is not. It is late. It's late right now in my mind. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean we're at the end of November. We're coming on December, right? There you can't say that they're still rusty. They're still trying to figure it out. That's what you say 10 games ago, like 11 games ago. At this point, you kind of know what you have. You've had enough time. You figure it out. That's it.
All right. Well, I think we hit everything here. I think we got the temperature of of a bit of the angst. We let it out. We got everyone's voices here. And yeah, let's see what they do. I mean, Tuesday we're gonna be back together on Tuesday, and we're gonna be talking about it. And I'm really curious to see. I'm either gonna be pleasantly surprised or I'm going off, because that's a game you gotta come out like it's the Stanley Cup Final for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys,
there's a good point. Sorry, one quick thing. There's a good point by JSL. The Panthers are on a back-to-back game for that game in Toronto, so. They're playing the Sens. No, I mean, like, that's more reason for the Leafs to play better, right? Because they have some rest now. Their next game is on Tuesday. You got 2 days, and the Panthers are going to be on the second half of a back-to-back. So put in some effort. Let's see a win.
So guaranteed win. That's what you're saying.
Should be.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for us here on Game Over Toronto. My name is Fouad Suleiman. You can find me on X at Fouad_sports. Harnish, take it away.
Yeah, my name's Harnish. You can find me on Twitter at Harnish_Patel on there. Yeah.
Hire John Torello's coach.
Oh, God. Goodbye. Oh, God.